I called my sister after my real first time, though.
I told my priest.
Yeah, you didn't.
I just turned around and said, "Hey, this is happening."
That was great.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Just Brunch.
Today, we are going to talk about our first times. Our first time writing something that we were very proud of. So, Zach, since this was your brilliant idea,
It was.
your second video idea ever, congratulations.
I want to present some questions that I had for my first time. Is it gonna hurt? Is it supposed to itch down there? Do I call him back? How many strokes does it take? Do you know when it's done? Am I supposed to feel different at the end? Should I tell my parents? My first time, I'm going to talk about the first time that I felt good about writing, where I was like, okay, this is something that's good, which was about a one-night stand I had, and it was called The Unemployed 41-Year-Old Who Lived with His Mother.
So funny. That was so funny.
That was one of the first things I wrote. I was like, this is good. And I remember writing it, and I showed my creative writing teacher in undergrad. He really liked it, and he said, I want you to read this at one of our conferences. So I read it at a conference in front of all my peers and other faculty. What was I thinking? And then he asked me to read it at this other conference, and I feel like I knew at the time, but right now I'm thinking I didn't know. But it was for a bunch of high schoolers, sophomore high schoolers. And I read it out loud to them, and it's graphic, obviously. It's about me having sex with another person, and what was I thinking? I sent it out to a dozen places, and I've never gotten faster rejections in my entire life. Because it was terrible. I mean, it was absolutely terrible. Sort of like sex, though, is that the first time you think, I'm so good at this, I know what I'm doing, I'm already a pro, and then as you, get better at it, even with writing, is that you look back and you're like, oh god, I made such a stupid mistake, and you have to exercise that muscle. This is so gross.
You know, they say you never forget your first time. But I think I did forget it, because I really couldn't remember what was the first thing I wrote that made me feel like a writer. Creatively, I guess it was a thing I wrote in college, and it's for a fiction workshop I took, and I don't consider myself a heavily fiction writer, but this was a piece that I thought, oh, there's different layers and all the symbolism. But then again, I reread that piece when I was applying to the MFA at Fairfield, and I thought, God damn it, was I 3? I think part of the reason I don't really remember these first times is because I go back and reread them, and I think this is shit. And I guess that's part of being a writer, is you go back because you're always growing, and so you're always each day you're alive, you're the best writer you've ever been. And
ooh, I like that.
Okay. Between college and applying for the MFA, I was just writing crazy. It was after my dad died, so I was just I hadn't written in a long time, and I just started writing nonstop, constantly just churning out really depressing shit. I wrote this thing about a girl who's living in France. It opens up, and she is walking through Paris, and it's early morning, and she's sort of regretting being there and misses being home, and then all of a sudden you find out she's dragging her best friend's dead body, and then puts her best friend in the river.
Isn't that kind of a true story? Didn't that happen in Italy?
Well, and I was living in France when that girl in Italy got murdered.
Oh, did you write it before it happened?
No! And that was the first thing I wrote that I was like, oh shit. And that was actually in my packet of stuff for the MFA, for my application. That's this week's video. We would love to hear about your first time of writing or boning.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching and listening, and have a great week, and we will all see you next time.
Smell you later.
Bye.
Bye.